Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is Authentic Achievements. I'm very excited that we're doing this show today and welcoming back one of our team members. We've missed her dearly. It's Kim-Adele Randall joining us from London. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. How are you?
Hi, it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has. It's been too long. I'm super excited to be back and realised we've both got, well, I say matching necklaces, clearly not because they've both got our name on, but we've both got the same. We got the necklace memo today.
I love that. I love wearing necklaces and jewelry. How about you?
Absolutely. I think sometimes just that one thing that brightens it up, isn't it? And my little girl, seriously, she'd be like Mr. T if she could.
I love that visual. So, Kim-Adele, for people who haven't seen you in a while, or maybe it's the first time that they're joining into the show, or maybe they're going to watch later, tell us a little bit about the work that you do and how you came up with Authentic Achievements. It's your own platform. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so I'm a business growth consultant, and I spend my time helping businesses to get to the next level. And over the last 30 years, I've done that for big global organizations as well as smaller companies. And it came to me that actually this, in my opinion, 7 secrets to how we build that brave belief, how we get those unstoppable sales, and how we turn our leaders into talent magnets for that guaranteed sustainable growth. And that really is where Authentic Achievements got born as its new name. It's the title of my latest book, which I'm in the process of finalizing. And what I really wanted to do was be able to, through the show that I've got and through this show, meet other people to share their stories, because I think stories are how we learn and how we teach. What we need right now is knowledge that's delivered to us quicker. It might have taken me 30 years to get this knowledge, but I can condense that down and give it to people in a much shorter and much more impactful time.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, today we're going to talk about a topic that is not what's listed in the promo because our guest is not able to make it, but we are excited to talk about focus. And I think just from what you described, having the platform that you have, being a mother, putting the mother first, and then the platform, and then finishing yet another book and helping people, you really have to have focus. And there are so many distractions. And just this morning, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was reading through the news, and it just, oh my goodness, everywhere you look, there is disaster and pain and suffering. And if you let yourself, you could get so caught up in it that you couldn't even get out of bed. So let's talk about focus, and we'll share a little bit about what we each do and some tips that we can share. But when you think about focus, Kim-Adele, you had to do a TEDx speech, you had to prepare, it was a lot of work. Give us some of the feedback from that particular experience.
It was one of the scariest and also most rewarding times of my life. It was one of the things I wanted to do. It was on my bucket list to do because I'd convinced myself, even though I've been speaking for probably about 15 years, I was like, if I could get a TEDx, then maybe that proves that I'm a good speaker. And I thought the hard work was done at the point that I got it. And then I realized that's just the start of the journey, because actually you then had 12 weeks of coaching and training to really understand how to deliver a TEDx talk, because it's not the same as a normal keynote speech or anything else. So carving that time out where, I kind of in my head had got it down to, well, obviously I deliver on the day. And I can fit that in with, balancing being a mum and running a business. And I'm interim COO for 2 other businesses. So like, but I can balance them all. And all of a sudden it was like, no, now you've actually got to fit in 12 weeks worth of training. And then you've got to do the prep for all of that training and get ready. And then there's a full day dress rehearsal that goes in, as well as the day that you're going to deliver the TEDx. So for me, it was one of those eye-opening moments where you really need to read the small print before you get started, because now all of a sudden you've got this commitment, and it's a huge commitment and a huge opportunity, and you can start to feel a bit overwhelmed unless you break it down. So for me, one of the things that I've learned over the years is to just break things down to what are the most important things that need to happen today for me to be able to be on track to deliver against that. Because as long as I can focus on those things, even if they seem small and insignificant, I know I'm moving forward towards my goal.
I love that, and I'm in total agreement. How many times have we seen people or heard stories where people became overwhelmed and they basically became paralyzed in fear, that just not doing anything because they just look at the whole picture instead of breaking it down into more manageable size parts. And I do think it is possible to have a great plan and yet to still run out of time because things do come up that we have to tend to. So, in the case of the TEDx and the preparation that you had to do, was there a moment in time when you thought to yourself, I don't know that I can move forward? Or was your passion and your commitment to it so strong that it didn't matter what came up, you were going to get it done?
A bit of both, if I'm honest, Dr. JACALYN. So I was really determined to get it done, but I was also really, really scared of letting myself down, and more importantly, actually, letting down the organisers of the event, because it started to feel like I just wasn't, no matter how much I prepped, I just wasn't getting it where I wanted it to be. And I remember having to do my first pre-dress rehearsal. And it was with all the other people I was speaking with. So we'd been together for 12 weeks. It was a really safe space. I stood up to deliver my speech, and we'd been told like 12 to 15 minutes. So that's kind of, I really focused on kind of not a script, because I didn't want it to be scripted, but I'd got a guideline of what I wanted to get across so that I was able to deliver, hopefully, benefit to the audience. And I stood up to deliver this speech, and I said all the things I wanted to say. I did it in 8.5 minutes. And I was like, oh my goodness, how am I going to get any more of it out? But equally, like the feedback from the audience is, one, I talked way too fast because I was nervous, and two, I was clearly nervous, not in my sound or in my voice, but the lower half of my body looked like it was like jelly. It was ridiculous. So I really had to take stock and go, yeah, I'm going to have to work even harder to get this done. And I've got all these other things to do. So how important is it to me to succeed? And it was really important, because it wouldn't just have been letting myself down. It would have been letting down the organisers that had put their faith in me. And I think that gave me that determination. And you talk so eloquently about the fact sometimes you can get stuck, can't you? We're trying to build a plan, and we can't see all the pieces and how they fit together. And you know me, I was chatting to know. I love a quote, and the quote for me that always comes to mind in these things is two, actually. One is by Michael Jordan, and that is, you don't have to see the whole staircase. You just need to take the next step. And my second one, and I'm afraid I don't know whose quote this is, somebody told it me many years ago, is, obstacles are the things you see when you take your eye off the goal. So if we keep our eye on the goal, then actually we find ways over the obstacles, because our determination is on delivery.
They are both excellent quotes. I like them. And I like how you always use a quote. It really brings the whole thing home. A question I have for you, and then I'll share how it impacts me, is when you're going through this, when you have your focus and your determination and you know where you want to go, and then someone in your circle says to you, oh, That's not a big deal. Come on, you know you've got this. Almost like poo-pooing everything that you're working towards it. It's just so simple. How do you feel about that?
It can be so hard, and I don't think people mean to hurt us. Yeah. And I say that, and you know my background, there's been plenty of times where, as an outsider looking in, you'd go, Kim, seriously, they wanted to hurt you. But I don't think they do. I think people don't mean to hurt us. They're dealing with whatever pain's going on in their world, and they don't consider us at all. We just become collateral damage. So very often we don't think about the words we use, and inadvertently we leave somebody feeling like we've just totally dismissed what they'd got to say, whereas potentially their intention was to kind of gee us up and go, you've got this, it's okay. But the tone and the way that they say it makes it diminish what it is that we're trying to achieve. And I think we just need to be more present, more conscious. And I love, you know, all the work you do as the listening mentor around that, listening to understand where that person is, what's important to them, what's their purpose, trying to be, rather than listening from a how's it making me feel. And that involves us being really, really present, doesn't it? And detaching from that internal ego to really try and understand how we move that forward.
Yes, definitely. And to your point about the listening, I would appreciate it if someone were to say, for example, Kim-Adele, I know you've got this important TEDx speech coming up and you're putting a lot of effort into it. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, that would be so welcome. And I don't think we always do that. And the other thing, and this is as a mother, I realized I did this to my child. I didn't mean to, but I read the book, The Whole Brain Child, and it's brilliant. My little girl suffers a little bit with anxiety, and the counsellor suggested that we look at it. And I realized in reading it that I was doing one of the things it tells you not to do. So when she was upset, or if she had a bad dream or anything like that, the first thing that I would do is, clearly I didn't want her to be upset or crying. So I'd be like, oh, it's all right, my darling, it's okay. You know, that hasn't happened. Because that felt like a natural instinct. I wanted to, you know, her to feel safe and loved and warm. But actually, what I hadn't realized is in doing that, I was dismissing her thoughts. So rather than immediately rushing in and going, no, it hasn't happened, you're fine. The book teaches you to take a moment, take a step back and go, oh, wow, how did that make you feel? That must have been really scary. So that she feels listened to first, and then go, I understand that must have been really scary, my lovely, but it wasn't actually real. It was just a dream. It didn't happen. That doesn't stop it not have scaring you and not have made you feel like that. But now we can be safe because it hasn't happened. And here I am, and here's, you know, pudding's downstairs, the dog, the doors are all locked, and we're all okay. And I realized that if that's how we need to do it with children, then that's probably how we need to do it with adults as well, because our brains haven't changed. The way that we understand and listen things works in the same way. So taking that moment to acknowledge what the other person felt first, and asking them, how did that make you feel? Such a great question, Dr. JACALYN, and I think we need to do more of it.
Yes, and I love that you can always relate it back to your family, which is wonderful because I think that helps people put it in perspective. I think also one thing that I do myself is I have a lot going on today, which I share with you backstage. And I look around and know there's a lot of things I have to get done. And I say to myself, okay, but that's not the time. This is not the time that you're going to be focused on those things. Right now, you're focused on Kim-Adele and this program. And I say these exact words, you and I both know, JACALYN, that you'll get it all done because that's how you are. And I just feel like a sense of peace. And if there's some things that don't get done exactly the way, because I'm a perfectionist, but exactly the way I'd like them to be done, then that's okay. What matters is that most of it gets done, and whatever doesn't get done, I have to find some way to live with that. And if it's something that's really important, I'm going to put it up to the top of the list as opposed to the bottom.
I love that. It's about that prioritization, isn't it? Because I used to get myself in a place of overwhelm because I'd put everything on the list that needed doing. And then I'd start with the easy things. So I get those out of the way. Well, why? They're the easy things and often not the most impactful. And they usually take longer than you've given them credit for. And the other thing is we think we can multitask. So, I still think I can multitask, despite the fact that I use this exercise with clients to prove how actually our brains can't. So if it's okay, I'll share it for everybody listening. So when you've got a moment, take a stopwatch. And what I want you to do is say A to J as fast as you possibly can and time it. And then I want you to reset the timer, start again, and say 1 to 10 as fast as you possibly can, and stop the timer. Record both. And then the third thing I want you to do is restart the timer and go A1, 2B, 3C, 4D, and time that. And just see how different the timings are, because letters and numbers use different parts of our brain. So we're asking it to do 2 different things. And I've yet to meet anybody where it hasn't at least doubled how long it took them to do those 2 simple things.
What an interesting exercise. I love that. That's really fascinating.
Because when we've lost concentration, it takes 20 minutes for us to get back in the zone. Even if we sit down and go, right, I'm turning off the phone, I'm going to be really focused. It takes us 20 minutes to get into that flow. So looking at those things, and what I now do is at the end of every day, because I am juggling, like being COO for 2 companies, plus running my own company, writing a book, and being you did say to me the other day, do you just have more hours in your day than anybody else? And I was like, no. I said, but sometimes you just got to get it done. I focus on what are the 3 things that absolutely have to be done tomorrow for tomorrow to be successful. And then I block out time in my calendar, so I don't take meetings or do anything else for the first 2 hours of my day, unless there's an absolute crisis, and it has to be a crisis, because that time is to ensure that those 3 things get done, which means I actually get to the start of my day having conversations with people, sort of like 10:30 in the morning, and I've already had a successful day, because the 3 things that needed to be done had been done. And that allows me to be so much more present with the people that I'm talking with. And it allows me to deliver. And it gives me back that bandwidth piece, because now what I do is I have to really think about, are they the needle movers? Are these 3 things that I'm putting down actually going to make the difference? Because if not, they don't get to go on there. And I don't get to congratulate myself by having ticked off 50 things that added absolutely no value to me or to anybody else, that was relying on me to get something done.
Brilliant. I love it. It's so true, because I find that there are always things we don't want to do, and they're the things I want to do first, just because I want to get them out of the way. And also scheduling things. I write everything down, including when I'm going to work out, and we've discussed this so many times, but not only do you get to check it off, but you get to see where are there windows, if at all, that you could fit in some other things. And another thing, which I think makes a difference, and I'd love to hear what you have to say, because I'm living in a different environment than you are, obviously, is how you set everything up in your environment. So not you specifically, I'm saying in general, is your environment chaotic? Is it a complete mess? Are you trying to find things, you're tripping over things, or are you organized and structured? And I was speaking to someone about this the other day, and the person was saying, you're so organized and so structured, there's like no room for any mess. And I'm like, no, there's room. There's definitely mess, because my health has been a mess. So therefore, if I keep everything else in order, I think that has a good impact on my health. What do you think about that?
I love that. I think you're right. I think everything in the world is in balance. When we get the balance right, things go well. And people think I'm super organized because I do juggle all of those things. And yet most of the time, if you looked at my environment, it's organized chaos. I know where everything is. But for anybody else, they look at it and go, what on earth? How do you work like that? But for me, it works. And I think that's sometimes where we've got to really step it up, is in getting comfortable with our way being different to other people's, and our success measures being different to other people's. Because I think, again, we waste a lot of time and thought going, oh, well, mine doesn't look like yours does. well, that doesn't matter if that works for you and that doesn't work for you. But I do know when I take those moments where I go and clear everything out, and I still, probably to my parents' utter disgust, because I was a messy child. Every now and again, I have to go, I'm going to spring clean, which involves usually taking everything I own out of my wardrobe, sticking it in the middle of the bed, because that means I can't go to bed until I've sorted it out, put it away, which is how I organised and tidied things when I was a kid. But the feeling of decluttering is such a joy to your mind, and I'll do that with a different room or a different part every now and again, and it gives you time to think, because I think that's one of the things that I know I'm really bad at, and certainly when I talk to other business owners and friends, they say the same thing. We never put time in to just think, because that feels like, well, I could be using that half an hour, couldn't I? Wedge something else in that needs doing. But actually making sure that we put some time in our calendar and go and do something like tidying something up, organizing something that isn't going to take a lot of mental thinking power, allows us the space and the freedom to really start to think about what it is we want. What are the ways over some of those obstacles that we've got to do? I think they call it positive procrastination, where when we sat with a problem and you just can't solve the problem, and we sit there and we think, well, I'm not leaving this desk until I've solved that problem. And you go there hours and you still won't solve the problem because your brain can't get over it. So instead, the trick, and I promise it works, is you write the issue down, whatever it is. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know what to call my brand. I don't know what my slogan should be. Whatever it is, write it down as a question to yourself. Put it in a book, close the book, and go and do something else, whatever it is. And trust that it might take a couple of hours, it might take a couple of days. But when you come back and you open it and you read the question out loud to yourself, you'll be amazed how many ideas come up that you're like, why didn't I think of those before? Because what you've done is you've allowed your subconscious brain to actually take over and solve the problem for you.
Absolutely. Getting some perspective makes a big difference. And I think also putting it out to a community of like-minded people, people whom you respect, and saying, this is the project that I'm working on. This is my dilemma. Any thoughts you might have, maybe you've encountered this before. And that's where it really pays off to hire a mentor or a coach such as yourself, because when someone's already experienced something, then they have that knowledge and expertise and they're very willing to share it.
Absolutely. And they can step in and do things. I've got an example really recently, actually. So I was working with one client, and we've only been working together a couple of months, and I knew from the day that we started that the idea was that they were relaunching for a particular date, and it had to be that date because it coincided with an international day. So I knew that. So we'd got 6 weeks to get it done, and I was brought in to help kind of really pull out what's the brand story, what's the message, what are we trying to achieve. And then we ended up with just 10 days before the launch date, finding out that the people that were going to build the website and produce the podcast, a couple of different companies, couldn't meet the deadline. And everyone went into a little bit of like, how are we going to get it done? And I was like, it'll be fine, I'll do it, because actually I can do that, and I've got teams that can step in. And we turned it around and we delivered all of those. But the feedback from the client was, you just knew that you could get it organized. And I knew immediately to totally trust that you would get it done, because you knew from past experience how to do all of these things, and you knew the right people to go and connect with. She said, so it just took away some of that overwhelm. So sometimes being able to hand stuff over or invite people in that might have a solution to that problem, that might be able to find that way through for you. Or, and sometimes this is the most important thing someone could do for you, ask a better question. Because sometimes it's the question that unlocks, it's always the question that unlocks the answer. And just wording it in a slightly different way allows you to find the answer that's been on the tip of your tongue, and allows you to then catapult forward to success.
Very true. I agree with everything you're saying. And I think also, if you think about major global organizations, they have their CEO, they have their leadership team, and so on and so forth. And every single day, there are challenges that are brought forth, whether it's where are we going in the future, or where are we today, or what are our stakeholders saying, what are our employees saying. So if we get into the mindset where we are everything, we can do it all ourselves, but we can only handle one question, we're never going to make it, right? We have to be ready and flexible and moving to be receptive to a number of parties who are presenting various things that maybe is going to help grow our business, maybe something we have to revisit about our business. So I think it's also a mind shift and being open to hearing from other people who are in a different perspective, like what you said, putting the book away and then coming back.
Absolutely, I completely agree, because I think, and one of the things it used to be, well, certainly when I was cutting my teeth in leadership, there was an expectation that you know the answer to everything, and actually that's really limiting, because it isn't that you should know the answer; it's that you should be able to ask the right questions and know the people that are going to be able to do it, and then be confident enough that your gift is the leading of those people, of the helping them come together. Your gift isn't necessarily having to be able to do it all yourself. And I think, having been CEO and COO of big global corporations, it was about knowing the people in the team, knowing what skills they had, and then being able to allocate the task to the person that was going to be able to achieve it. Because they were better at it than you were, and therefore be able to help them, to direct them, to maybe guide them on occasions and give them that belief. And I think we go into our own business sometimes, no matter how big or small it is. And I guess having been a one-person band all the way up to having ran thousands of people in a global organization, the same challenges are there. They may come with different levels of magnitude, but they're the same challenges. The same things come up, which is you had a plan, and then do you know what? There isn't a business out there that doesn't deal with people. Whether it's whatever the business is, even if you're a sole trader that that work, it doesn't matter what you're working on. You're either your clients, or your suppliers, or your business partners, or your whoever it is you deal with, their people. And the other thing that's critical at the center of every single journey, we're a person too. And people are messy. Things don't always go the way we wanted them to do. Things happen and our emotions get in the way. And we know we've chatted about this before. Our emotional brain responds 24 times faster. So it's really hard to manage people, including yourself. And sometimes you need an external perspective to help you see where there are opportunities to resolve some of the chaos.
What a great word, chaos. Yes. And I know we have a hard stop today. So, one more question I'd like to pose to you, which is, obviously, we're both women, we're women in business. And I know for myself, my journey in terms of controlling my emotions as an entrepreneur has really changed. And so I'm far less emotional than I used to be. Not that I don't feel emotions, I absolutely do. But what I mean by that is, I don't get upset when I hear no. I don't get upset when I hear I can't make it, or this isn't working, or I'm not sure. I just think, okay, let me address whatever this is. And maybe this is a good fit. Maybe it's not a good fit. Let me move on to the next thing. Or if things come up during the day, I don't take it personally. I just think, what is the solution? I'm always looking for what is the solution and how can I bring value? So how do you control your emotions, or do you let your emotions just be part of the process?
It's such a great question. And it's something I had to really, really work hard on, because we can't deny our emotions, they're there. But I know, even for example, talking to my ex-husband, he'll be like, you're like a robot. Your ability to be able to put your emotions in one box and then kind of deal with what's going on in a calm way is robotic. And it's like, well, no, I've just worked out over the years that it's not personal, even if it feels personal, even if it was, someone saying you can't do it that way, or you can't, or that won't work, or you'll never achieve, or you'll not. I got told years ago I didn't have the gravitas or the vocabulary to get on. And it was like, yeah, I could get really upset about that. I didn't have the world's best education. I wasn't that interested at school. When I was at school, I wanted to be a hairdresser. So, but I can make a different choice. It's like, that's things I can learn. I might not be good at them yet. And I think for me, that's the thing I now tell myself, and I tell clients, when somebody tells you you're bad at something, reframe it to say, I'm not good at it yet. Because just reframing it into that yet piece allows your subconscious brain again to go and look for ways to make you better at it, or to help you to achieve. And very often what people are telling us no, that like that won't work, or that isn't, they're projecting their own fear of if they couldn't get it right. So we get to choose whether or not we take that on and make it ours, or whether we go, thank you for the feedback, that's great. That might make me go back and look at what areas might I improve on, what areas might not work, where is there opportunity for things to get better, but I don't have to assume that that is a personal attack anymore.
Yes, I have thought so many times about what you've shared here about yet, not yet. And I've shared that with other people, and I've embraced that into my own life. So thank you. That's a big plus. We are just so graced to have you with us today. I know you have somewhere you have to be. How can people get in touch with you, and what would you like people to reach out in reference to?
Oh, always a great question. So you can get in touch with me either directly. So it's Kim@KimAdeleRandall.com. You can see what we're up to and get in touch at www.AuthenticAchievements.com. Or you can find me on social media. I'm on most places as Kim-Adele10. And reach out, if you've got a question, if you've got something that's like just bothering you. I mean, one of the things that I've been doing in the last few weeks, so if anyone out there would like a complimentary success steps to get them past whatever is their number one business challenge right now, reach out and let's help you get there together.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll see you the first Friday in June. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I am looking forward to it, Dr. JACALYN.
I'm looking forward to it as well. And I want to announce that as your new book is coming out, I have a number of books coming out, but there's also a book coming out that's going to feature two loved ones that you have. Tell us a little bit about that.
It is. So you have a new children's book coming out, and I couldn't be prouder that two of the characters in it, one of them is named after my little girl Scarlett, and the other one is after my furry little boy Pudding. So I have a furry child and a non-furry child who refer to themselves as brother and sister and have got the cutest relationship. And I love that you have allowed them to be immortalized in your book. So thank you.
We're very excited. This next book, the fifth one, we actually are releasing the fourth one in June, and the fifth one is taking place on a safari. So look for more information coming soon. I just met with my co-author yesterday, actually, to move the project forward, and we're very, very excited. So thank you again, Kim-Adele, for being part of it.
Oh, thank you for letting me. I'm super excited and I can't wait to read it to both of my children.
Very excited. It's really nice having children's series to help children understand the power of listening and why that's so important, and for the people reading to them to understand it as well. So yeah, brilliant. All right, everyone, we're signing off. Thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate it. Kim-Adele, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your weekend. I look forward to seeing you the first week of June.
Oh, absolutely. I hope the same to you as well. You take care.
Thanks. Bye. Bye, everyone.